Remote work, hybrid or on-site?
Remote all the way with occasional visits to the office.
Greek souvlaki or Swiss fondue?
Without a doubt, Greek souvlaki and tzatziki. There's just no comparison. I've already had it this week.
Γεια, είμαι η Λένα Λέκου, συντονίστρια του web τμήματος στην SA Athens και ακούτε το podcast Life of Dev. Ένα podcast αφιερωμένο στην ελληνική development κοινότητα. Αλήθεια, τι μπορεί να μάθει μια designer σαν εμένα συνομιλώντας με developers? So today in Life of Dev, I have the pleasure of hosting Faris Aziz, a Staff Frontend Engineer and engineering leader, conference speaker, co-founder of ZurichJS, and many other things. And we will see him very soon at DevOps Greece as speaker. I met Faris at CityJS, and I have to say he's honestly one of the most positive people I've ever met in this industry. Your smile is, how I say, I can see you, I can understand you from miles away because you are very positive and I really like about you this thing. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I've been really excited. I've been watching the episodes for the past couple of months and I was waiting for the invite and we're finally here because I think this happened this year.
Nice. And you have the privilege because I usually invite Greek people, so I want to support the Greek community, but I somehow find a way to invite other people that are involved with Greece or in somehow. So that's why you are here.
I absolutely love it. I mean, I've been going every single year, at least for conferences for the past 3 years. So I feel like it's just a natural evolution. I think it's like my top visit in terms of countries for conferences by now.
So let's start. Tell us a bit about your work and what you are currently focusing on.
You have to ask which of the 3 jobs, right? So, I mean, I'm a staff engineer at Smallpdf, so there's a lot of work I do around everything except PDFs. So I work a lot around monetization and payment systems. Then I also co-organize as you said, the ZurichJS meetups and also the conference this year. And then technically the 3rd job is all the conference speaking and flying around the world, which is I'm incredibly privileged to do. And somehow I've landed myself in a place where I have 40 flights between now and June. So Smallpdf, I think that what I've been talking about most, and this is actually a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about at DevOps Greece this year, which is around payments and monetization systems, which is when you want to use our platform, and our platform is for tens of millions of users, how do you pay when you eventually get limited by some sort of usage? Like you want to compress a document, merge a document, edit, do whatever you want with a document, and then eventually you've finished whatever your free usage is, and then you want to pay for either stronger compression or whatever pro functionalities we have. What does that entire payments experience look like? And what's easily misconstrued with monetization is that it's about squeezing the lemon and getting the most money possible out of somebody to be able to pay for a SaaS platform, which isn't always necessarily the case. It can even be reducing the barrier to entry, where we do, for example, localized pricing, and to make it actually cheaper for different countries with different buying powers to be able to use a certain product. And so that's what a lot of my work is around, like pricing strategies, being able to provide more localized payment methods, like, SEPA payments or Alipay in China, UPI in India. So a lot of the work is around making the payment experience easier for a lot of people.
And I see from your smile that you are enjoying this kind of stuff.
Yeah, weirdly enough, I mean, it's not my first time working with payments related technology. I was the founding engineer at a company called Patrix, which later on came to be known as Navro, which was a fintech startup. And over there, we were also designing payment systems, predominantly an API first version of a curation layer, which is different to an orchestration layer. And so that was really, really cool work, doing, tier 1 bank integrations and so on and so forth. And so a lot of that payments experience lended to the perspective I had into introducing monetization systems at Smallpdf. So it's been something that I've been involved in for the past couple of years, to say the least.
And how about the other 2 jobs?
The other 2 jobs? ZurichJS is going really strong. I'm incredibly proud of that community because we started our first meetup in November 2024. So it's not even been 2 years. And in less than 2 years, we've already gone to announcing our first conference. And so that's pretty incredible. Like we call it the Swiss Java Group. So it's a non-profit organization. So it's actually a legal non-profit entity in Switzerland. We call that a Verein or an association, depending whether on the French or German side of Switzerland. And which that essentially means is members are very close to the community itself. Like it's very typical in Switzerland to subscribe to a nonprofit. You pay it and you support it with a certain amount, and you're involved in the decision making of how it's shaped. And so we've been doing ZurichJS for, I think, once a month at least. We did maybe 12 to 14 editions of it last year, between versions with ZurichJS X Cloudflare, X Stripe, X Supabase. We've done a lot of partnerships with a lot of companies and helping build up the Zurich developer scene, which it was a little bit quieter before. And we've been introducing new ways to engage with different ways we go about slides, introducing digital platforms. We have something called the ZurichJS Today page, which is a digital pocket guide. So it's a lot of A/B testing and experimentation. We treat it a lot like a startup a little bit. And how can we test out and bring different things to see that what does Zurich and Switzerland love in the tech scene? And how can we bring more of that there? And the conference, again, is that natural evolution of that, which we sort of say 100 hours of cumulative work across myself, Bogdan, and Nadia, the 3 core organizers, goes into one meetup. So you can imagine probably a couple thousand hours are going to go into the conference.
Because I also help in conference and in meetups, and I can understand the difference and how many hours a conference might need extra. So but this is what I say usually, that when people ask me why are you doing so many volunteering things, it's a bug. And once you get it, you cannot unget it. So we find something very, I don't see it as a job, but something that it's a joy. It's a joy. This is something. It's a joy, and you meet people that have the same interests like you, and after a while you have friends inside this community. So it's not a job. You're not doing this for any other reason than joy.
And like we have like a massive Slack group now that we have so many, I think like 20, 30 different channels, and amongst the co-organizers and volunteers, we're always sending memes. We're always having a lot of fun, chatting about our work days. And it's become this community where we're just excited to be up to date in other people's lives every single month. And it's a touch point that we reach. And we even wanted to introduce flying to conferences together and supporting other conferences. So like last year, we all traveled to What the Stack together. So it was myself, Bogdan, Nadia, and also Colin, who's been supporting us a lot. So that was really, really cool. And there's this photo that exists in What the Stack where you see 4 people with yellow t-shirts. And those are all ZurichJS t-shirts. And what I love about that so much is not the fact that just the t-shirts are yellow, but it's actually Elian, who used to be on the Astro Core team and currently CTO at Vulpo. He actually helped us with Bert to create the t-shirts and then bring them over from Belgium to Switzerland. Technically, for the first time in Athens at CityJS. So that's where we met, and we had an incredible time, and it's been a friendship that built ever since, and it kind of walked all the way into this part of life.
When I was in Basel last year for another conference, I met a friend that she's living there, and we were talking, and people walking around and waving to me, and she said, "I can't believe you are in Basel and you know people." Because there were people walking from the conference inside the city, and she couldn't understand how this could be something. I was like a local, and I was waving people, but it was people from the conference, not people local from there. Yeah,
it's a small world. I love that.
And how you end up here? Because I know this is not your how this journey starts. So do you want to say a bit about your journey and how you end up being an engineer?
Are we starting since birth, or are we started? So we can talk about a little bit before software, specifically. Before software, I was a CrossFit trainer. So I was actually a CrossFit level 2 trainer, and was doing that in Geneva. And I was actually working up towards being a competitive athlete in CrossFit. So we have something called the CrossFit Open. Something that I used to do a lot. I don't do that as much anymore because life gets a little bit in the way. I used to absolutely love it because I struggled with a lot of health issues in the past myself, and so CrossFit was a way to alleviate that, find community enough itself. I think there's even a Log Rocket podcast that recently came out with somebody in the CrossFit team. So it's a sport that a lot of people find community in, and I know that a lot of engineers and conference speakers do that too, because it's group class oriented. You go in, you have a coach that helps you out. Everyone comes from different walks of life, and you're all there with a shared goal. Whether that goal is getting a 6-pack or just feeling better, healthier, whatever it may be, you all find community through the struggle that is actually doing CrossFit, because it is not an easy sport whatsoever. And so that was something I did for a while, and then I ended up getting into a coding boot camp. So I went for the coding boot camp. I failed the first module, which was a lot of fun for my ego. And then, and the stressful part of this coding boot camp was that if you fail the module once, that's fine. You get held back 2-3 weeks. But if you fail it again, that's it. You're kicked out of the in-person program and you go online. And so I was in London doing this, and I was like, okay, it's detrimental if I fail a second time. And in software, it's not a multiple choice exam that you're really doing. You're writing a piece of code. Either it works or it doesn't. So you can sort of tell yourself you have to get 100% in the exam or you don't. So that was an interesting period. I was very lucky to be able to have worked hard and found the energy to be able to pass the second time around. I've still maintained friends with those that I went to the bootcamp with. I'm actually going to JS Heroes in Romania, and then actually driving to Bulgaria afterwards to attend the wedding of one of the people that I went to coding bootcamp with. So again, like small world and community that we stay connected with. And I finished bootcamp, and then COVID struck. It was all the news about what was going on, and I didn't understand it. I didn't know what was going on. It felt very surreal, and I ended up having to go back to Switzerland, and that meant that all the gyms were closed. I couldn't really go and work out. That's the life I kind of knew. And then I learned these new coding skills, and so I built a fitness application that I used to be able to host outdoor group classes with, funnily enough, Stripe and payments. It was probably the worst integration of Stripe I've ever done, because back in the day, I didn't know what webhooks were. And so I didn't know what webhooks were, which meant that when a Stripe payment went through, I'm like, how do I know that when somebody successfully paid, I credit them for a class that they can purchase? So I would just redirect somebody to a success page and we didn't really use effects back then. It was class-based React. So on component did mount, you would sort of say, hey, credit this person money, or to be able to use it towards classes. However, if you refresh the page, it would just credit you again and again and again, because it's not webhooks, it's refreshes. It doesn't know the difference between one payment or multiple payments. So that was interesting. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what observability and monitoring was either. So when somebody had a bug and they would message me either via WhatsApp or email, I would have to go and say, bring your laptop with you to class. We're going to sit down afterwards, open up the laptop. Can you please click on this thing called inspect element? Can you open up the network tab? And I took my phone to screenshot what the network tab said and the console said. I went back home and I tried to read. I was like, damn it, I can't reproduce it. Let's go back to the next class and see if we can try some more things. But anyways, it was a very naive implementation and just wanting to build something. And funny enough, that also landed me my first job because I was interviewing, and then I landed my first job at a place called FX Digital, where I worked on connected TV applications like the Eurosport for the rebrand for the 2020 Olympics, GCN, Discovery Plus. It was a really, really awesome experience. And I didn't have to write any code for that first job. I just went through that initial project. They went through the GitHub repo. We were just talking through it, and I got the job, and I was very lucky. And I always then had this passion for, sharing knowledge, elevating people, supporting people. And so I was starting with 2 other people at the same time. We're all junior developers watching Frontend Masters. Something that's absolutely crazy is that I was watching Frontend Masters. I was watching Will Sentence's Frontend Masters course. And then I found out before I got accepted to speak at Devox Greece that Will Sentence is speaking there. And I was like, this is surreal. I was learning from this guy like 6 years ago, and now I'm speaking at the same conference as him. That was pretty cool when I got that invitation to speak at Devox Athens, and I was like, wow, that's just going to be pretty awesome. And so I was found camaraderie through explaining things, and then eventually, as I went through my career and whatever, I found a place where I stopped learning as much within a company. I wanted to learn outside of a company. I didn't want, all my value production or whatever you may call it to be within the scope of an organization itself. And I was an engineering manager. That means like I was at the top in the sense if you want to say from a hierarchical perspective. And I was mostly doing the teaching and supporting others and setting the direction. And there was a little learning left in that. And so that's where I went to meetups and conferences. I'm like, I need to start attending these things. I want to start getting involved in the community. I want to start, spreading knowledge, learning knowledge. I want to be the dumbest person in the room again. As simple as that. And I have just achieved to be the dumbest person in the room successfully over the last 3 years. And I take pride in that because I enjoy learning from others so much. And that's how I landed myself in this place. Just absorbing and soaking up knowledge like a sponge, playing out ideas, trusting my gut. I wrote a whole 30-minute blog post on my website about how 2025 evolved and what I learned and kind of how I'm going about this conferencing stuff. And now it's, again, landed itself in a place where I'm so lucky that I've been invited to a lot of them across the world, between, Asia, the US, a lot in Europe. And I'm very, very lucky to have a job that supports this kind of stuff. I'm not a dev advocate nor a dev rel. I'm a full-time IC. And I use a lot of my personal holidays and training days to do this stuff just because I love it and it energizes me. So that's not the long story short, that's the short story long.
Exactly. But I understand, I can understand that you have some disciplines from CrossFit era that is very similar to what you're doing today. Even if it's not CrossFit, you have this, let's say, soft skills that is very important to what you're doing now. So for me, it makes sense how you end up doing what you're doing. So, yeah.
I never made the connection until I was there.
So, is there any other, is there a specific moment or a person that made this change or get to know a bit about coding, or from this moment you end up in the bootcamp? So what was this moment?
I don't think there were singular moments, but a culmination of moments. And I've always loved building and breaking things. I used to take apart drones and build them back up together. I used to, those FPV flying drones, I used to build them up a little bit. I used to use try out programming languages, but I wasn't super into it early on. I was super into building, but I wasn't necessarily into coding. And I was lost after high school. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And so computer science felt like it was the logical next step. But in high school, I never had an aptitude for mathematics or any subjects. I think I got D in English, F in maths, physics, whatever. I was even thinking at some point, because I used to study film, and I used to Even one of my first projects was filming a TEDx event. I was like, maybe I'll do film, or maybe I'll just do this CrossFit thing. I had no clue. And so when I had to pick a university, I was just like, let's just try computer science. And I didn't have a lot of options in terms of universities, but it just felt like maybe something to try out. And that's when my father had actually suggested coding bootcamp to me. And I was like, why not? It's like a beta test. If you aren't going to like it for 4 to 6 months, you're definitely not going to like it for 4 years. So try the bootcamp. If you like it, maybe you want to then do the university thing afterwards. If you don't, then it's time to find something new. Least to say, because I failed the first module, I didn't like it, but I eventually found my way to love it. And now I just can't stop building. I love building stuff. It's new ways to express the same desire.
That's very interesting, because usually to all the other people that I interviewed, their fathers, their family could not understand what we are doing. So having your father to know and suggest something like this, that's very unique.
It's most likely because he's in the exact same field. But funnily enough, we are in completely different areas of the stack and don't share a lot in common in terms of what we do. We're in the same field. Yeah. It's so yeah, my stack's JavaScript. His has been always .NET and C#.
Okay. I can understand. Okay. And what's a, let's say, typical day for you? If there is a typical day for you.
There's never a typical day.
Do you have, let's say, working hours specific, or you are more free?
I'm quite flexible. I'm very lucky to be quite flexible. I do have core working hours, like in an hour's time I have stand up. So like there's no choice around the core working hours. And I prefer everyone having those same core working hours so we can collaborate on stuff. So a flexible 9 to 5 if you wish, but I tend to be very productive at night. So I do a lot of coding. I was prepping some PRs yesterday night. And that's mostly because that's when everything is peaceful. Given that I also organize, ZurichJS and the conferencing stuff, everyone's also active on LinkedIn and on their emails during those same 9 to 5 core hours. And I like to work and prioritize things that are blocking. Or, for example, if I send an email, I'm not going to get an instant response. I may get a response in 10 minutes. I may get a response in 10 hours. So sending an email is a quicker 5-minute thing to do. And then I can alleviate that to be able to do something else for the next 10 minutes or 10 hours to then get back the email, then delaying the email itself. So I do most of my core communication for my other stuff in my 9 to 5. And then the rest of the day, I'm definitely coding. I'm building stuff for Smallpdf. There's a lot of cool stuff that we're doing, especially in 2026. And then nighttime, I'm going and like building up. Like yesterday, I refreshed the ZurichJS meetup website landing page because we've got a lot of SEO traffic, thousands of impressions in Google, and we're very surprised how great the SEO rankings are. Actually, if you search for certain speakers' names, you actually will have ZurichJS come as a link, maybe either as the maybe 5th or 7th result, which is really, really cool for speakers that I've had before. And so I was revamping that because a lot of people looking for ZurichJS Conf are landing on the website page for the meetup instead. So we need to redesign the landing page to be able to redirect people to the conference page so that they don't get confused or submit the wrong CFP. So all that sort of stuff I'm doing at night to then revamp it and then make my LinkedIn posts in the morning. So it's very much, my day is structured around prioritization of when can I communicate with the right people at the right times. So actually a lot of my coding work is done when I don't need to synchronize with anyone.
I understand. But this means you are working more hours at the end of the day. But yeah.
Most likely, yeah.
Yeah. I do the same because I teach in the afternoon. So my brain has started to think better in the afternoon and not in the mornings. So everything shifts from 2:00, let's say, and afterwards, because I cannot work afterwards, earlier. Okay. And I think you have answered, the last one. Or do you want to say about the energy inspiration?
Energy and inspiration. I'm still figuring out where that comes from, but it mostly comes from people and smiles. Like from the last podcast I did, I got an incredible amount of messages from people just saying that they liked hearing the story and so on and so forth, and it encouraged me to want to do more podcasts and find new ways to express the non-technical stuff that I do, and that's really energizing. To be able to then also build something and then go see, hey, 20 million people are using it. That's pretty crazy. Or again, with ZurichJS, like we've got, I think, over 130 applications to speak, CFPs, and it's not even been a month that the CFP has been open. That's pretty crazy and really, really cool. So that's energizing that people want to apply and talk. And it gives me a different problem. Now, how do I create so much space for people to be able to do that? And so the energy from that gives me the energy for the next problem. And so all of those things are driven from places of passion. And so I've yet to find a thing that dampens my energy around it. And I've found, luckily, good ways to be able to tap into things that continue to give me energy.
Okay, so let's move on and talk about our community and the industry, the global industry. So you are a frequent visitor to Greece. So I have to say to see what's your perspective and how you see the Greek tech scene, how it was involved, what makes you come back again and again.
Well, I'm lucky to be invited back again and again. That's one thing. I've seen a lot of predominantly Angular and React developers in Greece. I've yet to explore how many Vue developers are in Greece, but that's also just because I'm biased to the React world. That's where I've been for the most part. And so there's always been a crowd for the React talks that I've seen at conferences. And the first workshop that I gave in Athens was an 8-hour long React architecture workshop. And I think there were at least 20 people there. So there was a lot of curiosity, a lot of difference in seniority also. There's a lot of junior engineers. So that means there's a lot of investment being done into growing people. There's a lot of agencies. The initial course I taught was at Agile Actors, which is also was sponsoring actively the community and also DevOps Greece, which is really, really cool that they're supporting and also sending people and educating. So that's what I like also a lot of it. There are a lot of companies that are involved in sponsoring and supporting, which is not always the case in a lot of communities. So the active involvement is really cool. And I like going to places that are actively supported by local companies. And then we also have at ZurichJS, somebody that's come all the way from Mykonos to come and, look at the Zurich scene and so on and so forth. We actually have some people from Greece. Last meetup that we had last week, we had 4 or 5 people from Greece that were they currently work in Switzerland, but there was all of this talk about hey, you should go here in Athens, you should go here in Crete, you should go this in Thessaloniki. It was incredible. And so the Greek community not only is naturally in Athens and Greece, but following into other things that I'm doing. So there's so much talent there. There's so much passion there, and it's friendliness. I think the warmth is something that I'm always feeling welcome around. And it's also because from my culture, there's a lot of warmth and a lot of expression and excitement and wanting to hear about each other and learn from each other and be very respectful and everything. And so this is something that I continuously see, a lot of hospitality, warmth and friendliness and fun in the Greek community. It's not just about the technological aspect. It's also about everything around it, which makes it a great holistic experience. And that's why I keep coming back. It's a joy every single time.
So we are heading to DevOps Greece in a couple of months. So do you want to give us a sneak peek of what you're preparing for us?
Yeah, it's not a new topic. It's stuff I've been working on at Smallpdf for, since I've joined actually. And it's an evolution of a topic called now orchestrating payments for the millions. And so with Smallpdf being a platform that has tens of millions of users per month, processing, millions in payments, how do we actually orchestrate that so that in every single country in the globe, we are making sure that we're not operating in sanctioned countries, that we're able to provide localized currencies, that we're also settling in the right currency and avoiding foreign exchange rates. We're providing the ideal payment methods and also being able to route through multiple gateways. So if there are, for example, any issues with Stripe or are there any issues with Adyen, you can go and switch across different gateways. And so how does a system that's operating 24/7 sometimes has incidents and things go wrong, stay resilient, performant, and create accessible payments technology that you're able to use to just have a wonderful user experience at the end of the day? That's what it's all about. Conversion and optimization around the payments and monetization experience and all the architecture from a technical perspective that goes behind creating that experience, along with A/B testing and a lot of research and things that we found out over the last couple of years. Something that we found out very interestingly is that if you add, we did an A/B test where if you add just two inputs into your checkout field, where you have your first name and your last name, can reduce conversion by around 11 or 10%, which means if you're making 10 million in a certain region and you add one or two compliance requirements and input fields, you're risking around about $1 million in a loss around with conversion. And that's if you do things correctly. So there's a lot at stake to being able to do monetization correctly. And that's
you mentioned me that you were in Vox Days in Crete, right? So you will see the difference between the two.
Yes.
It's organized by the same people, but the scale you will see between the Vox Days and the Vox Greece. I think you will be amazed. They're doing a great job on this.
I'm very looking forward to it.
Yeah, nice.
I'm excited to be taking the
looking
stage
forward
there.
to your speech there. And okay. So let's go to the fun part. At this section, I'm going to do some quick questions just to get to know you a bit. So you don't have to explain a lot about your answer. So you can just give your answer and continue. Yeah. Okay. So what is your strongest skill?
Execution. So getting it done and getting it done fast.
Nice. What is the most boring task during your workday?
I take away all boring tasks. Otherwise, I wouldn't have fun doing it. And I need energy to do what I do.
What was the first programming language you fell in love with?
Stays JavaScript, and it is JavaScript.
Is there a new framework, tool, or language you want to learn next?
Tanstack Start.
If you weren't an engineer and not a CrossFit trainer, what you will be doing?
Cinematographer or photographer.
What has been the most impactful project you have worked so far?
I think Smallpdf was pretty cool because of the scale.
And now we go to the this or that. So you have to pick one or two.
Yeah.
A proper 1 hour lunch break or something quick and back to work?
Proper 1 hour lunch break. You need your rest.
2 monitors or 1 or 3?
3.
You're the second person that says this. Digital to-do list or pen and paper?
Digital to-do list, or more so my calendar.
Remote work, hybrid or on-site?
Remote all the way with occasional visits to the office.
Greek souvlaki or Swiss fondue?
Without a doubt, Greek souvlaki and tzatziki. There's just no comparison. I've already had it this week.
Nice. Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Lord of the Rings or Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Lego or Playmobil?
Lego.
Board games or video games?
Board games.
And favorite board game?
Monopoly.
Interesting. Nice. So you can now rest. There are no quick questions. And now we go to the last part. So let's talk about more for the tech industry in general.
Yeah.
And let's see what's happening now with the AI scene and what is changing, what you are seeing it's going to be different this year?
So it's evolving incredibly fast. And there was just this interesting lightning talk that I saw at the last ZurichJS last week by Christian, who's also going to be, I think, speaking at, he also spoke at some of the DevOps and Voxed events. And everyone feels that they're so behind with AI. When it comes to whether it's Claude Code or putting your Claude MDs or your cursor rule files or whatever it is. And then the span of time in which these tools are developed and come out is so small that some of them haven't even been out for 6 months, and you already feel behind for some reason. You can't be behind if it's only 6 months old. There's that. And I think we're finding ourselves in a place where we need to recenter our work around understanding what it means to be a force multiplier, because in any case, before AI, you had to be a force multiplier, whether that meant managing teams, whether that meant, doing whatever else, automating certain processes. Again, it's another tool to be a force multiplier. It's just that it comes now with a lot of meta reviewing to an extent and review fatigue. You have AI generated code, which is then going to be reviewed by an AI itself. And then you're reviewing so much, just like you see, even if you saw a human PR, somebody wrote before an AI or anything like that, and you saw thousands of lines, you would have struggled to review that and just said, looks good to me. Exact same thing. It's just, it's never been easier to churn out thousands of lines of code, which means that we're getting more tired through the review process. And so there are interesting things that I'm seeing evolving in terms of practices where ESLint rules to limit your file sizes to 400, 500, or even 300 lines are becoming even more important than they were previously. Bite-sized atomic PRs, even more important than they were previously. Writing good commit messages and regular commits rather than doing a week of work and then putting it as a work in progress commit. Practices that were there before are now being resurfaced in a different way because the tools around us are making them more important, or just giving another reason for why they're justified. And I think that's something that we're in a phase of either relearning or understanding what are the guardrails we want to put in place to have these tools effective and multiply our work as ICs.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of projects do you think we are going to work on the next years?
I think that there's a lot of work around personal assistance that I'm seeing around how can we take stuff that we do. And you used to do this with N8N previously, or Zapier, or whatever, like your own personal workflows. But I'm seeing a lot of people, automate part of their calendars or automate certain things that they used to do before with AI. And a lot of more people are working on personal projects and being able to do the marketing for it, doing the building for it, doing the design for it. And you have so many of these tools to do it, where you previously had to be an expert in each individual field to be able to produce this stuff. So I think we're seeing just a lot more personal projects and personal ideas come to life. Whether they all now share the same purple UI UX that AI tends to churn out, and you can tell very quickly what an AI generated website looks like these days.
Yeah.
But a lot of our learnings are evolving on how to fine tune the usage of these models to be able to produce the outcomes that we want to. And so a lot more people are able to take what they weren't able to get out to life, or at least at the speed of the execution they wanted to, they're able to now do it. So I think a lot more personal projects are going to start dominating the scene.
Mm-hmm. And beyond code, because, maybe at some point we are not going to do the actual coding.
Yeah.
So what skills do we need to evolve to this era?
Communication and coordination. It's as simple as that.
Communication with AI or communication with other people?
We just call it prompting. We call it prompting, but at the end of the day, it's communication.
Yeah.
If you just say, fix this, do it faster, don't make mistakes, you say that to another engineer as much as you say that to an AI model, you're going to get the same result. Exactly. So at the end of the day, you have to learn to communicate with human beings. It's just that, human beings have feelings. Human beings, have different ways that they want to communicate to. Sure, maybe you have one prompt engineering guide for a singular AI model, but I'm sure that there's drift between those, whether you're talking to Gemini or Claude or, one of the GPT models. Maybe there's drift, maybe there's not. I'm not an expert in that area, but with human beings, there is drift in the way that you communicate. And so learning how to do that is super important, because if you're going to now sit above the code, understanding what are the priorities, what to build and how to build it, and aligning on that faster is going to set you apart from the competition. And that makes a really, really big difference. So that's not something that's changed. This is something that, again, is now we have to relearn or is more important than was before.
Mm-hmm. And one very hot topic, I will say, it's what is going on with junior developer, designer, all the kind of disciplines, and what they are facing right now, because some of their, let's say, tasks is going on from an AI, and they have a problem right now with this situation. So what advice would you give to these people that are on the junior level and they cannot find a job right now?
Meetups are an incredible place to start. And again, connecting with human beings. At the end of the day, I don't think we're at a stage where the entire interview process has been replaced by an AI agent, but who knows? Maybe we'll get there. I have no clue, and I don't expect to have any clue anytime soon. But at the end of the day, you're going to be talking with hiring managers. You're going to be talking with TAs. And right now, recruiters and TAs, they are flooded with AI resumes and AI cover letters, to the point where I think only 10 to 30% of applications, and I got this from a recruiter that works at Supabase, 10 to 20 or 30% of their applications are actual real human applications, which means they have to sift through 70 to 80% of what is essentially junk to get to the real stuff. And so what's your differentiating factor? And now we can say that it's making your YouTube clones, or your Netflix clones, or your side projects, but then now we're able to do that very fast with AI. What about making a personal website? Again, you can do that very fast with AI. So what's your differentiating factor? It's who you are as a human being, the way that you think, the way that you prompt, the ideas that you have. Maybe you take something and you execute on a different. It's not about having unique ideas. I think like building a Netflix clone isn't the best way to express skills. It's cool to see how Netflix works internally and build that. But take an idea maybe that already exists and make it your own. And how do you express your own vision of a product? And that's, again, that's your value proposition to a company. How do you take something and add value to it? How do you understand that what certain technical guardrails improve the quality of software? How do you understand making decision A to decision B is better than the other? What if you can build something with AI, get it out and get it used by users, even if you have 1, 10, or 1,000 users, and it's maybe it costs you $10 to run a server to be able to run it, but the experience you're going to have saying that I took something, I iterated on it, I got user feedback, and this is what came out of it, that is going to be gold in an interview process, because you actually started to replicate in one way the similar processes you see within product-driven companies. And that's what they're going to love. Whereas when you're going to client-facing companies and agencies, it's your communication skills that you are going to be having to figure out how do you interpret client requirements and turn them into something that you're able to build and then retain clients long-term. Because at the end of the day, if you're somebody that's able to extend a contract from a year to 10 years long, you're incredibly valuable at an agency level.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any advice for the companies? Because they are not asking, they don't have job descriptions for junior, and they are only seeking for seniors at this point.
I don't think I have much advice for companies, because I think it's more of a thing that time will tell. I appreciate that we're, I guess, they're in a direction now we're trying to maybe maximize shareholder value, or we're trying to optimize and cost cut wherever we can. Sure, I understand that. There's always been a long-standing argument, even before AI was in the picture, that you should have juniors on your team, and I don't think that that's changed. I think it's been easier now to make the excuse to not to not look at it. And so I would encourage companies to still look at it and see that the investment is worthwhile long term. And there's a lot you can learn from that. It's fresh perspectives. I mean, something that's really interesting, that really invaluable that junior developers bring is that if you've been operating a certain way for 10 years, they're going to come and be like, why? And sometimes you don't question the way that you're doing things. And you need to be questioned the way that you're doing things. Sometimes you need to be able to just figure out how can you explain what you do to somebody else, and you're going to grow as a senior. Seniors will not be able to grow without juniors to nurture. And if we only have roles at the top level, there's no growth left for the seniors too to get to the VP level or whatever it may be. So you're going to find a lot of concentration and a lot of frustration and very little growth. Which means you have a saturated organization from a seniority perspective, and I don't know how well it will work out long term. So it's hard to give companies advice because each company will have their own unique circumstances and whether they listen to that advice or not. But I think it remains the same as it was before. It's just we have to now go through the growing pain of learning why cutting out juniors is a mistake.
And I was reading an article and a conversation on LinkedIn yesterday, and I found it very interesting, and I didn't think about it until then. There is also another aspect, which is the following. If they see someone that is younger in age, they will think that they will be better in AI rather than a person which is older in age, because they didn't have much experience from the past. And I found it very interesting how they think about it like this. He's younger. He was born in AI, so
they may adapt faster,
so he will be awesome on this job. But an older one, even if he has spent so much time and energy and education in this topic, they will say he's older. They will not understand the AI. That's very, very, very strange, like very weird. Yeah. Nice. So we are at the end of this episode. That was very nice. And the last thing you have to do is to challenge someone else to come to my podcast. Maybe someone you met in Greece, or someone that he will be very interesting to talk with. So that's your chance.
You need to get Dan who's going to be Dan Nichu, who's going to be speaking at ZurichJS Singapore with me. You need to get him. He's got his own podcast.
Nice.
And he's got a lot of stories that he's learned from other people and also himself, and he does a lot of interesting stuff. So I think that'll be the next best guest for you.
Nice. I will contact him and let's see.
We'll make it happen.
Nice. Thank you so much for bringing your energy to my podcast, and
thank you, Lena.
See you at Devox Greece.
See you. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Το podcast που μόλις ακούσατε είναι μια παραγωγή της SA Athens. Αν θέλετε να μάθετε περισσότερα για εμάς, μπείτε στην ιστοσελίδα sae.edu. Μείνετε συντονισμένοι και μην ξεχάσετε να κάνετε εγγραφή στο Spotify. Και μέχρι το επόμενο επεισόδιο, never stop coding!